Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Poop, the podcast where we talk about the movies, music, and media that make life worth living. Today, we're talking about a very underrated movie, in my opinion, the most underrated Christmas movie, Surviving Christmas.
Do you lose sleep at night? Grab your pillow tight. Do you struggle to find why Han and Luke had to die? Are you just a mess? Does Hollywood leave you stressed? Because their sequels are more important than fan requests. Hold on to your chair, cause Talking Poop takes you there. You might have to change into some new underwear. Talking Poop.
Today we are welcoming a very special guest. She is a major in geospatial science. I don't know what that means. It sounds real nerdy. But she's also an amazing woman, and she lets me have sex with her. Her name is Lauren Bromley, and she is my wife. Say hello, Lauren.
Hi-oh. How's it going?
I know what you guys are saying. Jason, you couldn't get a guest for the show, could you? But that is not the case.
Don't let him fool you. It is the case.
It is not the case.
I'm a cop-out.
No, I have people chomping at the bit to get on this show. But we've wanted to get you on the show for a long time.
When you say we, is that the proverbial we?
We as in the Talking Poop. It's just me. It's just me. Yeah. But we wanted to have you on the podcast, but this is a podcast about movies, and
I'm a scientist and a nerd. Yeah.
You don't
total different nerd.
Let's just say, how many movies do you watch in a month?
Before I married you or after?
Like right now.
Right now? Probably one a week.
What?
Well, okay.
Be honest.
That's a little overzealous.
Realistically, this is what it is. I'm going to watch a movie, and I say, do you want to watch a movie with me? And she says, not really. I'm just going to sit here and Pinterest, and then I'm going to go to bed. And then...
I'm addicted. What can I say?
Yeah, you keep looking up more and more, and then you start asking questions about the movie, and then next thing I know, usually about 15 minutes into the movie, it's like, what's this? And then next thing I know, you're staying up late, you've put down your phone, and you've completed the film.
Well, when you first met me, I had like an entire all of 12 DVDs in my possession, and now we have thousands, so...
Your favorite movie was P.S. I Love You.
It's still my favorite.
Which is a horrible film.
It's so good.
It's
Hilary Swank. And Gerard Butler. I love him.
No, he's a disgusting...
He is my hottie patati.
He's a disgusting man-beast. And...
He could be my man-beast.
He is an over-controlling piece of shit in that movie who dies, leaving his wife to...
You're missing the point.
No. He dies, and then he can't even let her move on after he's dead. He still sends her notes from beyond the grave in order to control her life.
No.
Even when he's dead.
You're so not a romantic. You totally missed the point of that movie, and we're totally off topic of what we were going to talk about.
We're going to get there. But we have to set up for the audience your lack of movie knowledge, and that's the only reason why you haven't been on the show yet.
Right.
But you did sit down and watch this entire film with me.
It's a good movie.
Awesome. That's the end of the podcast, everybody. You can check us out on social media.
Come on.
This is a completely underrated Christmas film. There's a handful of Christmas greats, in my opinion. Like Home Alone, Jingle All the Way. You've got a man crush on Arnold. Yeah, as most men do and should. No. But it's also an amazing movie.
I don't really care for it.
You sit on a throne of lies.
So the list. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is a every year must watch. A Christmas Story. And I'm going to go ahead and throw Family Man on there, although...
Oh, see now, okay, that's my jam. I love Family Man. I also really like Family Stone, which I don't even know. Have you even seen that?
I have seen Family Stone, but we're not going to talk about it.
See, that's the problem. I'm a hopeless romantic. You're just like, nah.
I'm a hopeless romantic, but I don't like diarrhea movies. So
such a good movie.
But Surviving Christmas, I think it's one that you know, I probably caught on to like 5 years ago. I didn't watch it when it first came out. It came out in 2003, and it was like a Ben Affleck vehicle. And in 2003 was not a good time for Ben Affleck.
What do you mean a Ben Affleck vehicle?
So like the movie came out and it wasn't like looked at on its merits or lack thereof. It was just looked at as like, oh, it's the new Ben Affleck movie. And people were fucking sick of Ben Affleck. Like there's a lot of Ben Affleck haters out there, and we're gonna get into that in more depth later. But right now we're just gonna mention that it was brought out as like the new Ben Affleck movie.
But Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms.
Word, bitch. Phantom's like a motherfucker. What's up now?
So anyway, I know there's people out there that right now that are judging the fact that I'm even doing it. Why would you do a podcast on this movie? I know people are asking that because I usually have pretty good taste when it comes to movies. And I even worried when watching this movie. I hadn't seen it in a few years. I thought, okay, we're going to plug it back in. And then after watching it with like my new eyes, that it's going to suck. But I was thoroughly entertained.
So you set yourself up to hate it?
No. So when I first saw it, I actually had zero expectations for it. I was like, this probably sucks. But it was Christmas time. I was in the mood for a Christmas movie, and I was getting tired of watching like the classics over and over and over again. I wanted a good new Christmas movie, and so I rented this one, just assuming that it was probably going to suck, hoping it would be decent.
Rented?
Yeah, this
in
is back when
2013.
2003.
Oh, 2003. I was
This
gonna say,
2003.
so Hollywood Video and Blockbuster are still a thing.
That's still a thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I rented this movie and had zero expectations for it, but from the very beginning I was like, this is different and it's crazy.
Please let me stay here.
No.
I'll pay you.
My family's not for sale, pal.
I'll pay you $250,000.
Welcome home, son.
The Valco family will aid Mr. Latham in recapturing those childhood Christmas memories, including celebrations, all through festiveness, various and sundry merriments, and Yuletide glee.
I was into it. Like I really dug it. And then I realized like it wasn't just a Ben Affleck vehicle. Like it has really great actors in it that I didn't even know were in it when I rented the movie. James Gandolfini from
The Sopranos.
And from True Romance. He
I forgot
has
he was in that.
one of like, so True Romance to me is one of the greatest movies ever made. And it's full of just like amazing Quentin Tarantino monologues. And Gandolfini in that has one of the greatest fucking scenes that could just be like, I could just watch him like in a stage play. And it could just be like one chair and a light over him and him doing his scene from True Romance where he's talking about, he's beat the shit out of Patricia Arquette. And he's talking about killing people and how like it doesn't bother him. It's just like snapping your fingers to kill somebody now. And the whole time she's letting him talk because she's inching her way toward a wine bottle opener that she's going to stab him with. So it's like super tense because you know that's what Tarantino's dialogue is so beautiful because it goes on and on and on and to the point where it kind of gets long, but it's okay because he's alluding that violence is about to happen. So you can listen to all of this like diatribe, but it's all like built up this tension because violence is about to erupt. And that's where Tarantino is just like, muy perfecto.
Remember that guy in Texas? The guy up in that fucking tower killed all them people? I bet you green money that first little black dot he took a beat on, that was a bitch of the bunch. First one is tough, no fucking fooling. The second one ain't no fucking Mardi Gras either, but it's better than the first one, because you still feel the same thing, you know? Except it's more diluted, you know? It's better. I drew up on the first one, you believe that? And the third one. Third one is easy, you level right off. That's no problem. Now, shit. Now I do it just to watch the fucking expression change.
Gandolfini, he's amazing. He normally wouldn't take a movie. I mean, like everything he did was really good.
He was terrifying though to watch. Like any moment you see him in like just the flicker of his eye, you just feel like he could jump out and just like strangle you with his bare man hands.
Yes, he's a big beastly man, and he is one of those few people where like I'm actually scared of him. Like he scares the shit out of me. Then his wife is the amazing, always talented Catherine O'Hara,
which I love her.
Love her.
Well, the first time I saw her was in Best in Show.
First time I remember her is like Home Alone. She was the mom in Home Alone. But
as an adult,
like, yeah, all the Christopher Guest movies, like Best in Show and A Mighty Wind, she's like so amazing in. But then like just recently Schitt's Creek has been, oh my gosh, she's off the hook.
If you haven't seen that TV show, it's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah. So the first 3 seasons of Schitt's Creek are on Netflix, and it's her and Eugene Levy, and she's like unbelievable in that show and so funny. And she always plays a really good drunk person. She was really good. She was a really good drunk mom in Orange County. She was so funny in that movie.
So now I'm a bad mother.
No, you're not. Will you please just put on some clothes?
I sacrificed a lot for you, Sean. I sacrificed Damien for you.
Your tennis instructor.
He was beautiful and Serbian. And when your father left, I almost married him. And if I had, we'd be living in a condo, clipping coupons, and eating lunch meat. So I didn't. I married Bob for you. I had sex with Bob 4 times for you. So how can you say I'm a bad mother?
She plays drunk for like no other. And in this one, like I don't even think they ever show her drink in this movie, but she's obviously like smashed on wine like the entire movie. She plays like the haggard, like had enough of life mom.
Yeah, and I don't think they talk about her work, but I got the impression the character was like a stay-at-home mom. But her kids were grown.
So. Yeah, I don't know, but I think she was like a stay-at-home mom.
The detail that went into the backdrop and the scenes really helped with the actors like playing off of the scenes.
Yeah, so the house in the movie, and we'll get to that a little bit later too, but the house in the movie, like it really does like remind me of like all the houses I lived in, like mashed into one place.
Did you hear that? You know what we used to call that squeaky stair? The squeaky stair.
So for anybody in there who's born and raised in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, maybe?
90s is even pushing it. Like that house was like
early 90s.
Had some like shag carpeting going on, like the green shag carpet in the kitchen.
Colors,
and then just like the house has like all the furniture is made out of like dark wood and doesn't match.
I don't know, yellow and gold floral wallpaper.
Yeah, lots
everywhere.
of wallpaper. Yeah. That's like every house I ever lived in growing up. And then, so then the daughter is played by Christina Applegate, who is, again, freaking amazing. And I mean, like, we all know her from, like, the Bundys, Married with Children. And then, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead was, like, her, like, post, like, trying to break out of that thing. But I don't think she really hit her stride until Anchorman. And she kicks a goddamn field goal in Anchorman. Like, any chick who can, like, keep up with Will Ferrell and be as funny as him is, like, she's got all the respect in the world in my book.
Huh. You're a real hooker. And I'm going to slap you in public.
You have way too much pubic hair.
Actually, that's a point of pride. I'm very proud of my mane of pubic hair, so thank you.
You have man boobs.
You've got a dirty, whorish mouth. That's what you have. I'm going to punch you in the ovary. That's what I'm going to do. A straight shot.
Ooh, ow.
Right to the baby maker.
Well, and I agree with that completely, but I still feel like she hasn't had a fair shake in what she's capable of doing.
No, I agree.
Like,
because she's always forced to play the straight man. And I think that she could do something really crazy. Like, she was really good in Bad Moms as the bitchy mother. But she should have been one of the moms, like the crazy moms. Like, I can totally see her, like, letting loose and being hilarious.
Maybe that's, like, a very abstract way of typecasting.
It kind of is.
Because it's the way she looks. She's got, like, that little turned up nose. It's really cute, but at the same time, it kind of lent in, like, the real thin jawline. So she kind of has that, like, just straight edge look to her, so it kind of says bitch.
Yeah.
But
Well, she wasn't like that in Married with Children. She was like a total tramp.
Right.
And
but kind of still in the same genre of typecasting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But
yeah, I like Darren Angerman.
She can carry a comedy, and she's funny, and she's awesome.
Yeah.
And she's gorgeous.
That's true.
So that all helps.
What was the one where she was in the bathroom and she's talking about that she got fake boobs? She's like, "You want to feel them?" And there was a whole scene about these hot girls in the.
That was that one with Cameron Diaz, wasn't it? The little brother is Josh Zuckerman from Sex Drive, which is another totally underrated, amazing comedy.
I don't think I've seen that one.
That's the one where he is a donut in the mall and somebody puts a big stick on like dildo in front of him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to. Do we have that one?
We have that one.
Okay,
That's
you gotta pull that one out to show me.
Yeah. I'll pull it out and show it to you. So anyway, so it starts off with this amazing cast, but yeah, it got crapped on because Ben Affleck is the lead, which is not fair for the rest of the cast. But from what I understand, the movie was kind of doomed from the beginning. They didn't have a finished script. The cast kind of came on and wound up ad-libbing a lot of the dialogue. The director was like, he hadn't done a whole lot of stuff before, so he kind of didn't know how to control his cast. And I guess it got so bad that James Gandolfini like refused to come out of his trailer until they fixed the dialogue and like got figured out where the story was going to go.
Right, because otherwise he's just wasting his time.
Right. And I think it feels like Ben Affleck had a lot of involvement in this whole thing because they really let him play it fast and loose. Like he's really like throwing everything he's got at the board and seeing what bounces back. Like,
You gotta sing Christmas Tree. Tom, you take the lead?
Would it make any difference to you if I didn't want to?
Not really.
Oh, Christmas tree,
Yo, Christmas tree, you stand in woodland beauty.
He's playing it really broad in the beginning, which brought down a lot of criticism on him in the movie because they're like, well, he's just being silly and it's so slapsticky and stuff, which it was, but I felt that it really went with the character that he was playing.
It made him seem like this kind of like an airhead, though.
Yes, which would have been bad, and I would have been like, this is a crappy performance by Ben Affleck because he's just going too hard. If at the end he didn't bring it totally back down and like Good Will Hunting the end, like he totally like he was straight at the end, and it was like he had a character arc. So like he was a screwball in the beginning of the movie, and he doesn't totally change. He's still kind of a screwball at the end, but he shows that like most of that was like him being. He has mental illness in this movie. His character is mentally ill for sure.
Yeah.
So the whole premise of the movie is that Ben Affleck plays this super rich dude. Apparently he has endless amounts of money, but he's supposed to be an ad executive. So that doesn't really add up because they show him like being an ad executive in them. I'm sure they make good money, but not like they play it like he's a billionaire.
Like a CEO of something. He had a crazy loft in Chicago or something.
Yeah, he has a crazy loft in New York. Or maybe it is. No, it might have been Chicago. Yeah. So he has like this crazy beautiful loft, and he has this like perfect life and everything. And he's got this hoity-toity girlfriend, and so he proposes to her, and he gives her or no, he doesn't propose to her. Sorry. Okay. So Christmas is coming up. He gives her an early gift, and it's tickets to Fiji, and he wants to spend Christmas in Fiji, and she flips out on him and is like, no, we can't go to Fiji. Like, family's important, and I want to be with my family, and you should want to be with your family.
Which, just to be clear, I feel like that was a misstep in the writing because anybody with the personality of that girl would not say something like that.
Yeah.
She'd be like, fuck yeah, let's go to Tahiti. Like, screw these people.
Right.
Yeah, so for her to care about family and tradition and all that didn't make sense for her character arc.
Kind of, but at the same time, it kind of did because she was such a hoity-toity little princess that like I would think that she would be afraid to tell her parents she was gonna do something else for Christmas other than what they wanted her to do.
Yeah, maybe. Or, the other thing could have been, like, the way her relationship with her parents evolved was how needy she was and reliant on them.
Right.
Because she seemed like she was an only child, and everything she did was with them. So maybe it's plausible.
But anyway, the plot device is that she gets pissed off and tells Ben Affleck, peace out, you're going to spend Christmas alone. And he is so filled with anxiety and mental illness at that point that he just starts like calling everybody in his phone book and like begging to like stay with them for Christmas. And he realizes that like people that he thinks are really close are like not his friends. Half of them are like, who is this?
Right. And he goes through his whole black book and he has nothing left.
Yeah, nobody wants to spend Christmas with him. And like obviously like the way he is in the movie, in the beginning of the movie, like you can see, no one would ever want to hang out with this dude.
And on top of that, you get a phone call during the holidays from somebody that you didn't think that way about, and they're asking you blatantly if they can come hang out with you for 3 days. Yeah,
that's super desperate and yucky and creepy.
I think on one phone call he even said something about, well, yeah, I'll just live with you for a few days. And they hung up on him. Yeah, well, he's like, one of them was like, my wife doesn't like you. And he's like, well, it could just be you and me then. Like, he's like so like deranged. And then so like nobody will hang out with him. And he like literally like loses his shit. He goes to his girlfriend's psychologist and he tracks him down in the airport. And it's Stephen Root being awesome as always. And so Stephen Root's trying to deal with his kids and get through the busy airport on the holidays. And Ben Affleck is like chasing him down. He's not even his patient. He's like, yeah, my girlfriend's your patient. And he's like, oh man, you need help. And so he just like, just to get him off his back, he's like, look, this is what you can do. Take all of your grievances and all of the problems you have with your family, write them down on a piece of paper, go to a very important place, a place that sticks with you in your childhood, light them on fire and let it go. Like, let it be okay. You. And I forgive, that's it. Yeah, he's supposed to say, I forgive you. So Ben Affleck, being a crazy person, is like, oh, that's a good idea. So he goes to his childhood home and he takes the list and he starts burning it in front of his childhood home. And cut to the inside where James Gandolfini and Catherine O'Hara are living there now. And they're the current tenants. And they see this crazy person burning paper out on the lawn. And James Gandolfini goes out there and just knocks him the fuck out with a shovel. Like, hits him so hard it would kill anybody. Yeah. And I noticed in the trailer for the movie, they show that scene. And then when Ben Affleck's on the ground, they like ADR'd him like, ow. But like in the movie, he's like dead. And James Gandolfini like pokes him with the shovel and like he's like dead. Well, and then he dragged him into the house, completely unconscious. Yeah, which is, I don't know anybody who'd do that. Maybe somebody that's as badass as James Gandolfini that could just be like, I'll choke you out if you cause any problems. But yeah, takes him into the house where Ben Affleck wakes up and then proceeds to reminisce about his old house. And like, I don't know about you, I've always wanted to go to one of my old houses and see what it looks like now. I've gone onto Google Earth and gone onto the Street View. So I grew up in New Jersey, right? And we had this, to me at the time, of course I was 6 or 7, so it seemed like this ginormous castle. You know, it had 6 floors, but 2 of them, one was a cellar, one was a basement, one was a garage, and then you have like your main level and all that. But I was able to find it based off of my memories of what I remembered the streets looking like and the general pattern via Google Earth, because I didn't have the address. And then I found the house, and then I double checked it with my parents to make sure it was the correct house. But yeah, I would love to go back to there, and just because there was this upstairs bedroom that was the entire upstairs area, and then it had this attic, and I swear to God there was this pipe that went into the attic, and on the wood floor there was this giant hole that just went to nothing. It was terrifying.
Yeah,
terrifying.
I can imagine it would be as a kid.
I don't know where the hell that hole went, but it went forever, like down into the cellar, all through the 6 floors, all the way down. It was absolutely terrifying. But I'd still go back to the house and look.
You should go back to the house. Just so, it's probably not as terrifying. It's probably like a laundry chute or something.
Yeah, no, our house didn't have a laundry chute. But it was weird that it was in the attic. And the floorboards were all like cracked and broken down in. Like something heavy had crushed through the wood.
You may have had a portal to hell in your
It
childhood home.
felt like that. It felt like that. It was always super cold in there.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
Did you ever go down in the basement? Did it have like an old furnace like in Home Alone that would like light up and scare you?
It didn't. It was like a root cellar. And in
That's
one
terrifying.
end of it, so when you walk in, it's maybe about 5 feet, but then as you go towards the back, it gets lower and lower and lower to the point where you're like, you have to crawl on your hands and knees. It's only like 1.5 feet, maybe 2 foot tall on one end.
So you lived in a haunted house for sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But,
And that's probably why you're so weird now. But yeah, so like, but that's like a thing, like going back to your childhood home. Like, I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to do that.
There's songs about it. It's something that has affected all people because it's just that age.
And like, I've driven you by my childhood home in California. Like,
Yeah.
but I've never been brave enough to like go and knock on the door and like be like, hey, can I see?
That's how you get murdered.
Yeah, that's how you get hit with a shovel.
Yeah.
So Ben Affleck, they're kicking him out of the house. They show him around the house and then like, all right, crazy person, time to go. So he kicks him out of the house and he tells him he will give him $200,000, whatever, $250,000 to stay in the house for Christmas. And
for them to act like his family.
Yes. So, and they agree to do it. I don't know. This is one of those like indecent proposal situations. Like, I don't know if I would do it for $250,000.
Are you kidding me? Because what was it? It was 3 days, I think he said.
Yeah, but he was scary. You got to picture it.
Yeah.
A big 6'5", like 6'7"
If Ben Affleck
man.
wanted to come live in my house.
God damn it. There you go.
Brown hair. You should dye your hair.
Why did you marry me? I'm a total ginger.
You're funny.
Oh my God.
I do love redheads.
That's what it is.
I do love redheads. You have these red sideburns and this goatee that is just like you look like an Irish dude.
That's what everybody says. They're
I know.
like, oh, you must be
And
Irish. And I have
100%
zero,
Dutch.
100% zero Irish.
100% zero.
Yes, that's how much Irish I have inside me. And hopefully that's all the Irish I'll ever have inside me. So yeah. So he it begs the question, would you let a stranger live in your house and would you pretend to be his family? They pretended to be his parents. That's super weird.
Yeah, the whole like when he was calling him mom and dad.
Yeah, he calls them mom and
That
dad
was
and
super
he makes
psycho.
it super weird.
But you know, he brought the lawyer in at the very beginning.
He brings
of the
the
proposal,
lawyer in, yeah, and like
they
full
do
and
the
lays it
paperwork.
out.
Yeah, they do the paperwork. So at that point, it's like, well, this guy might be crazy, but he's truly legit.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
he's got the money. So yeah, I'd tough it out for 3 days.
Yeah.
For $250,000.
Oh man. Well,
Shit, I'd do it for $1,000.
so the parents agree to do it and they're pretty psyched about it. The kid, however, is not psyched about it because they have established that he has a masturbation problem.
Brian, get down here and eat your dinner, will ya? I'm busy.
One day that computer's gonna get our baby a good job.
What he's doing up there, nobody's gonna pay him for. Because if they did, I would have retired at 17.
And that all
I
he
just thought it
does.
was that he was a porn monger.
That's what do you think guys do when they look at porn?
Well, some.
No.
They
You don't.
didn't even show it. Like they just show him like with his bedroom door open,
Yeah.
Googling the internet.
Yeah. So that was a gnarly old computer back in 2003, and he's definitely got dial-up porn.
Mhm.
Which, if anybody remembers dial-up porn, I'm sure a lot of guys out there do. It was more frustrating than anything because you're just like
You just need a release.
you're 3 centimeters away from seeing something good, and it's just taking forever. And you don't want to start stroking ahead of time because you got to time it perfect. And like,
It'll be that much better if you get to look at boobs while you do it, right?
right. But that's the thing is that the boobs finally come up and you're like, yes, boobs. And you're like, wait, I need some snatch. And like, this is going to take a while. And like, you're like, it's like, and you're like, I see belly button. And it's like,
Oh, that's right, because the picture would like slowly load.
Oh yeah, and
Oh
you'd
my
get like the blocks, and then they'd clear up, and so you get a little bit more picture, and then it would like start with some more blocks. Yeah,
God.
it was.
You know what?
It was a hard
The
time.
next generation is gonna miss out on so much.
They
that
don't
we had
even
to- I
understand
know.
how much trouble we had to go through to whack one out. Like, they are so lucky. They'll never have that problem. I preferred magazines back then because it was just there and it was available and I didn't have to watch it download, you know? But then you start realizing that there's a whole wide world of stuff out there, cool stuff that you didn't even know about.
Yeah, like, what is the furries? The animal thing that you were talking about where they have sex in animal costumes?
Yeah, those guys are freaky freaks, but that's how nerds can get laid, is by dressing up in a costume so they can't see what a nerd you are.
Why didn't you do that for me?
I didn't need to because I'm all balls and you just loved it. You were like, oh my gosh, there's a lot going on down there. And I was like, little does she know.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So the kid is a porn monger and Ben Affleck's gonna stay in his room, and so he's super upset because he says, where am I gonna be able to do my studying? And they kick him out to the garage. And then later his dad and Ben Affleck come out to the garage to like have an argument, and then he's sitting there, he's looking at a porn magazine.
Oh, I totally missed
and
that.
He puts it under his blanket, and then he's like, the dad's like, get out of here, and he doesn't want to because he's got a boner and he doesn't want to stand up.
Get that? I was totally not even.
And when he finally does stand up, he's got his blankets all balled up in front of him, and he's got the magazine tucked in there, and he storms out. But yeah, poor guy is very sexually frustrated. So before any of this even happens, though, before the plot of the movie even begins, it starts off with a musical montage, which is and they're showing people having Christmas merriments and stuff. And like showing people do fun things, and then they show it go horribly wrong. Like they show a guy like doing his lights, and then like he falls off the ladder. And then there's a crazy cameo by Tom Kenny, the guy who plays the voice of SpongeBob. And he's like wrapping presents and he's all happy about it. And then like a couple seconds later, he's like losing his mind and like he can't get the bow to go on straight and stuff. And he just starts tearing the paper and destroying the presents. And then literally there's an old lady making Santa Claus cookies. She takes them out of the oven and then kneels down and sticks her head in the oven to kill herself.
Yeah, that was really weird. And I was like, what the hell?
So that's how I knew right off the bat. I was like, this is not a normal Christmas movie. It's dark.
Right.
And it's weird, but I was okay with that. Like I was okay with it, like a dark comedy. And it is dark. Like Ben Affleck would probably kill himself if they would have said, no, you can't stay here for $250,000.
I don't know. I mean,
or he might have just burned down their house with them in it. Like
that movie had a fine balance between being dark and being the romantic comedy that they were actually advertising it as.
Right. And maybe that's people's problem with it, is that people don't like...
You can't do both.
Yeah, people don't like mixing of genres. They want their stuff like vanilla.
And I think that's because, so like, what I loved about this movie was that it was such a representation of reality. Like, all of those things, like shit going horribly wrong, just seems like, well, that's normal.
Yeah.
And it actually makes it more relatable. And maybe when people are watching movies, they don't want to relate. They want to be taken out of their doldrum lives. They want to think about something else.
That's for sure the reason like people watch movies, you know. But like with Christmas movies, especially with Christmas movies, it's usually about how miserable Christmas is. Like, I don't know. I think like we love it so much as children, and then as adults, it's just a pain in the ass.
Really? You think so?
I don't know. Like,
oh man,
I do it. You know, but like I wasn't feeling it, and then now like I do it for the kids.
Yeah.
But it's still more of a pain in the ass than it is like a good time. And I noticed myself like longing for Christmas more so around Thanksgiving than actually like Christmas time.
This movie and so many other Christmas movies seem like they're just talking about the shitty parts about Christmas, and I think we as kids we build Christmas up because it's like this amazing magical thing, and then the magic dies as an adult.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly trying to get that magic back.
Right.
But I felt like after we had kids that magic came back, because it's like my favorite thing to get prepared for them to come down the hallway, just to see their first face You know,
Oh,
when
yeah,
they
for
see
sure.
the presents, or going and doing Christmas lights and driving around and doing the zoo lights and that kind of stuff. I love that. I think
Right, but it's for the kids.
But it's also, but I love that.
When we were when we were doing it before we had kids, like I felt like we were just going through the motions. When I would have rather just
Right.
like spent the money to like go on a cruise or something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And just skip Christmas altogether
sure.
and not deal with our families.
Yeah, no, as a young adult, when you have no family ties that way.
Right.
Yeah. Or as a young married couple where you don't have kids yet.
Right.
Yeah. At that point, like, and maybe we should have.
I still think we should. We should drop the kids off at your parents' house and just fucking go, man.
2 tickets to Fiji.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you wouldn't hear me complaining. I'm not that snooty.
Yeah,
I'd be
exactly.
like, shit, yeah, let's go.
But so the crazy person tries to like relive Christmas by doing all the things that he remembered as a child, which is kind of like what we wind up doing anyway. You know, you like you wind up trying to recreate those things that were great as a child. You know, like one of the things, like it's too expensive to buy a live Christmas tree, and I don't really want to kill the tree, so we use like the old tree or the artificial tree.
Okay.
But I miss the way like a real tree smelled. One year we got a tree that had bugs in it, and there were these big, huge beetles flying all over our house.
That's
yeah,
awful.
Yeah, it was awful. That's the thing, though. Like, Christmas is awful. So this movie obviously was like highly criticized, and people shit all over it. It got fucking tore up at the box office, and a big part of that was like I think the hatred for Ben Affleck. Like, this was a time when to paint a better picture, in 2003, Ben Affleck was he was just coming off of this whole like Jenny from the Block thing, the Bennifer, him and Jennifer Lopez, which I think that destroyed his career completely. Kind of hers too.
Which one?
What?
Which one destroyed his career?
No,
Gardner?
no.
Or,
I think
J-Lo?
being with J-Lo. I don't know what it was about that relationship that became such paparazzi fodder. I don't know. You don't seem really interested in like celebrity relationships and stuff.
No, not really.
People are interested in that, you know, but some celebrity relationships just become like a huge thing. Like I think Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston was like so huge and crazy, and it's like, why did anybody care? You know?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with like just what's going on in society and what's going on in Hollywood and how people are connecting and
I guess
feeding
his
into
star
the
was
craziness.
rising, and she was like changing from being an actress to a musical person, and so it just like it was one of those things. It was one of the first ones that I remember where it was just like always in the news, like what they were doing, and it made people like it overexposed people to Ben Affleck, and then they like turned on him and they started hating him. And in that time, he had like 3 movies that just flopped ass.
What were the other 2?
It was Geely, which was with him and Jennifer Lopez, and people called that the worst movie ever made. And it was like one of the biggest flops of all time. I never saw it, so I don't know how bad it is, but I've heard it's awful. And then right after that, he did Jersey Girl, which was with Kevin Smith, and he was trying to like re-spark that indie thing that he had for a while. And like I'd say like the height of his success pretty much in the early days was Chasing Amy. And when he did that, he had all this like indie respect, and he was trying to regain that with Jersey Girl, but Jersey Girl was Kevin Smith's chance to try to like break into the big leagues. And Jennifer Lopez was in that too, because in the early days they thought, oh, you know, everybody's interested in Jen and Ben, let's put them in movies together. And by the time the movies came out, everybody was so sick of hearing about them.
The phrase that comes to mind is "Don't shit where you eat."
Exactly. Don't shit where you eat. That's exactly the right thing. And he was shitting all over his kitchen table because him and J-Lo were in everything together, to the point where, and Kevin Smith denies it to this day that J-Lo had a bigger part in Jersey Girl because she dies in that movie early on in the movie. Mm-hmm. But there was more of him and her, and then it got cut. Like she dies like right after the opening credits. in that movie, and she's out of
Was
the
that
movie.
because they had already broken up?
At that point, yeah, they had broken up, and people were just done with them. And that really hurt that movie too, because I don't think the Jersey Girl is awful, but people say that it is awful. You know, and it's definitely not a good movie, but it's not awful. It's not like as horrendous as people talk. And this movie came out at that time, and the plan was to release it in December of 2003, which would have been smart.
Right.
But Ben Affleck had filmed 2 movies, one being a comedy and one being an action movie. And at that time, I don't know what Ben Affleck wanted, but the studio wanted him to be an action star. They wanted him to be the new James Bond. They wanted him to be the new big Tom.
Because he had the looks.
Right. They were setting him up to be like the new Tom Cruise,
right.
you know, basically. And he had done he got a lot of success from Armageddon. And so they were like, okay, we want to make him an action star. So he made the movie Paycheck with Uma Thurman, who was coming off of Kill Bill. And so they put this movie out. That movie was bad. Paycheck was super bad.
I feel like I've seen that one.
We've seen it. Yeah, it's
I can't remember it though.
He's like some scientist or some stupid shit, or that like he reverse engineers stuff. Like, and these guys are like after him.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, it was not a good movie. It was a bad movie.
Was...
They decided they were going to release Paycheck December of 2003 and hold Surviving Christmas until the next Christmas. So they're going to hold it for almost a year. When a studio holds a movie for a long time like that, the movie's already been in trouble. So there was trouble on the set, there was trouble in post-production, and now they're just basically like, they're still kind of have hope, but they're basically burying this movie. So then the next Christmas comes around, and the studio starts hearing rumblings that John Grisham has a movie coming out based on a Christmas book that he wrote. Well, that movie turned into Christmas with the Cranks and came out in the Christmas of 2004. And that movie sucked tons of donkey balls, just like a bucket full of donkey balls is how bad that movie sucked. And so they had nothing to worry about with that movie, but because of it, they were scared. And so they marketed their movie to death. They released Surviving Christmas in October. No Christmas movie that has ever come out in October has ever succeeded or stayed in theaters till December.
Right.
It never happens. So they released it in October. The movie made zero money. They pulled it from theaters in 2 weeks. And then they did a super rush to try to make some money back from it. And they released it on DVD for that Christmas. And people were like, holy shit, wasn't this just in the theater? Mm-hmm. And it was. It holds the record for the quickest movie to have a theatrical release and then turn around and get released on DVD.
Wow.
Yeah. So marketing killed the movie. Ben Affleck being in the movie killed the movie. And people were like, that movie's stupid. And they hadn't even given it a chance. You know, they didn't see it. So nobody saw it.
Well, and what's crazy about this too is that while he is the main character, the movie really relies heavily on the other performers.
Yeah, it really is. Like, it starts off about him, but it's really more about the family.
And if anything, it's James Gandolfini and Christina Applegate who really kind of take the spotlight. Yeah,
they're like the serious portion of it. And it gets into that what I love about the movie is that it's not just a one-note joke of Ben Affleck being crazy and silly. What like really stands out to me is like then you find out that James Gandolfini and his wife are getting separated, and that things haven't been working out, and that when after the holidays they're going to tell the kids that they're breaking up, and you realize that like James Gandolfini is like a really sad dude. Like his life is falling apart. He's doing that like midlife crisis thing, and he's losing his wife, and he's sad about it. And like it's that sad thing where like neither one of them is doing anything wrong to break up, and neither one of them is bad people. They just have been together so long they don't know what to do next, and it's become stagnant. And so the next thing to do is to split up. And it's so sad, you know, and I've seen that happen in real life, like, so often.
Again, though, that's why that movie, it's so reflective of what real life is.
Right. And that's the thing, yeah. And James Gandolfini, he plays so much of it in his eyes. Like, he looks like he's sad, you know? And
Except for when he hit Ben Affleck over the head with a shovel.
He looked super
really
happy about that. Yeah. I love how annoyed he gets. And it reminds me of my relationship with my dad because he's made those looks at me. Like I was always a stupid clown and he was always like super serious. So I'd be doing something stupid and he'd look at me like, how did you come out of my dick? Like he's so disappointed in me, and that's how he was with Ben Affleck. It's so funny. And Ben Affleck just keeps poking at him, like even when he's annoying him, like he makes him wear the Christmas hat. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm not wearing that hat. And he's like, based on the contract, you are wearing this hat.
Are you familiar with breach of contract?
So I love that. And then Christina Applegate comes into it. She comes home from wherever she lives. She like doesn't live with the family, and he's super pissed off because he's like, I didn't have a sister, so this doesn't work with my plan at all. So he's like, he decides she's gonna be the maid, and she hates his guts and can't stand him and can't believe that her family is going along with this ridiculous plan. And she keeps telling him to his face, like she's like, you are a lunatic and you scare me. And that's the thing is that like in real life, this is a dangerous person.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like this is not something you replicate at home.
No, for sure not. But one of the things I want to say about Ben Affleck's performance is that people talked about it being so broad and everything and how crazy he was. Mm-hmm. But then I started thinking about it. Like everybody loves the movie What About Bob? And Bill Murray is doing the exact same performance as what Ben Affleck is doing in this movie. And everybody loves that movie and loves Bill Murray. And hates Ben Affleck.
Well, that could have just been the product of bad timing and wrong marketing and cultural situations going on. When Bill Murray was in his heyday and that movie came out, I mean, he was like beloved already. Yeah. He wasn't struggling to find his place in Hollywood.
That's true. Yeah. So maybe Ben Affleck was like sticking his nose where it wasn't. Like he hadn't earned it yet, so you can't pull something off like that when you haven't earned it yet.
Yeah, maybe.
But then you look at Jim Carrey doing like Ace Ventura, his very first movie, and he's like going completely apeshit and talking with his asshole and stuff, and like people loved the hell out of that. He didn't have to earn it.
Well, first off, his performance as Ace Ventura was fucking awesome.
No, it's amazing.
And second of all, those were not they were not genre crossing. They were strict slapstick comedy humor.
Right.
And maybe at the time when they were released, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Again, you've got those social aspects that make a movie or break a movie.
Yeah. Depending
on what's going on. And a good marketing person for the movie would be reading the social cues of what's going on in the world.
Right.
And realize, is this a good time to put it out? And yeah, sometimes they don't have a choice. They have a time, a deadline, and they have to make up their money at a certain point. Yeah. So they can't hold it for very long, but...
I think we already pinned the dildo on the donkey. That is what was the problem, is that it's not a straightforward movie. It was a black comedy mixed with like a family comedy mixed with like... Okay, I keep saying black comedy.
Yeah, you should say dark comedy. Dark comedy.
Okay, yeah. So it's dark comedy mixed with family-friendly stuff and slapstick. So it's kind of like all over the place, and maybe that's why people don't like it. I love stuff like that. To me, that's like... Because I'm sick of seeing the same crap over and over again, And I don't think things need to be just one thing. I like it when there's like multiple levels to something. And that's how this movie was. Like 1 minute you're like, oh my gosh, you're laughing because it was so stupid. And then the next you're like, oh, like this is, I totally like.
It's cute and endearing.
Yeah, like this reminds me of my childhood or my Christmases. And then the next thing you're like, you start to see this budding romance between Christina Applegate and Ben Affleck, and at first you're like, this would never happen, but then they're actually pretty good together, Like
they have good chemistry.
They had really good chemistry.
Makes it believable. What was it you were saying about her? That
I don't know if it's true or not, but IMDb says that him and J-Lo had problems because of Ben Affleck's chemistry with Christina Applegate on the set, like that they were too flirty or whatever, and that she was like causing problems on the set also with all this other stuff going on.
And didn't she tell him, she gave him an ultimatum of like that, or that he needed to quit the movie?
And that's the thing, like you never know with IMDb like what's true or what's not. Really? You'd have to like ask Ben Affleck. Yeah, because anybody can add. It's like Wikipedia, so like anybody can add to it. Yeah, it always has like really good facts and stuff, and like I'd say 80% of it's true, but sometimes when stuff sounds a little whack, yeah, you gotta take it with a grain of salt for sure. But, oh yeah. So by the end of the movie, like Ben Affleck has helped. He helps James Gandolfini. He tells him like, you should take some of this money that I'm giving you and like do you, man. And like that kind of like spices up James Gandolfini's life. And then he goes to Catherine O'Hara and he offers her a modeling thing to like get her together. And that's another thing. Like if you see this movie, her hair is so frizzy in this movie and she wears like no makeup and she just looks so haggard. But she's a really pretty lady, but she always lets herself like be haggard in movies. But like if you watch Home Alone, like she's kind of a bitch in that movie, but she's really pretty in that movie. Like she's a very pretty lady. But so he sends her to this photographer who's played by the amazing Udo Kier, who is, I love him. He is a character actor, but he plays like this, I don't even know, flamboyantly gay photographer.
Model photographer.
Yeah, like model photographer, and he takes these spicy pictures of her. Some nude pictures, apparently, because then later on, the son accidentally downloads pictures of his mom when he's going to whack off.
Yeah. Spread V.
Spread V, yeah.
Stripper heels in the air. And he's so distraught and disturbed by it that he's just completely frozen in place.
He has to smash his computer off the stairwell. Yeah. Speaking of the stairwell, one of the funniest, stupidest things is when Ben Affleck wakes up in the morning and goes to slide down the banister like he did as a kid, and it just breaks and he eats shit. That makes me laugh so hard.
Yeah, from like 10 foot up.
Every time. Yeah, he fell far. But, oh man, that always gets to me. Another thing I love is that since Christina Applegate comes in and messes up his whole world and everything, he's got to balance it out. So he hires a grandpa and they call him Doodah. And he's like this dude just from like the local theater company, and he comes in to play Doodah. And James Gandolfini keeps calling him Doodoo. And every time he calls him Doodoo, I laugh. Like he even does it like in the background of shots. He's like, "Come on, Doodoo," and I laugh hysterically every time they say Doodoo. Doodoo will always be funny.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that character, it almost seemed like a last minute thought. Like, hey, there's something missing. We need to add it in.
Right, yeah.
Like, it wasn't originally in the script, and maybe it was, but the way it seems was very last minute. Maybe that's how they were trying to make it play, because it was last minute to what Ben Affleck's character was.
Well, and they talked about, like, there was no script per se.
Right.
So, and they didn't know how they were going to end the movie. So the fact that they end the movie at Doodoo's play,
that was so cute.
It was cute, but I bet that wasn't scripted. I bet that was something that came along as, you know, like just they needed a place for the movie to kind of come together, and it worked really good.
He was my favorite character in the movie.
Doodoo. And what I love too is that so in the third act, he's finally like he's blown it with Christina Applegate. And she hates him again, and the family's like done with him. They want him out of the house, and so he's going to leave. And then his hoity-toity girlfriend shows up. She finds out where he's been staying, and she thinks that it's his real family. She wants to meet his real family. So because he's now prepared in his mental breakdown to actually go back to his other life, she's all he has, and so he doesn't want to fuck that up. So he pays them more money to pretend for just a few more hours that everything's cool and that they really are his parents.
Tom, that guy is still here.
Yeah, I know.
Why is he still here?
He's given us $250,000 to be his family for Christmas.
And you agreed to this without asking me?
Of course I did. He's giving us $250,000.
And how would you like it if I agreed to something like this without asking you?
Well, that would depend. Would we be getting $250,000?
Okay, what exactly did you agree to?
And so, Doodoo had to go to his performance for the play that night. And so he has his understudy, which is an old African-American man, come and play Doodoo.
Who walks in at just after the crazy girlfriend's hoity-toity girlfriend's family and her are now sitting in the living room, and Ben Affleck's sitting there saying to James Gandolfini, who's at the door? And he's like, just Duda. It's like, well, what? We don't leave our family outside. He's like, no, him and Han. And then he goes, all right, fine, I'll let him in. And he comes in, and he's in a whole family of white Italians. He's got this African-American guy, just like totally awesome and outrageous.
And then starts hitting on them all.
Catherine O'Hara and James Gandolfini's like just about to like rip his head off.
The end scene is so good because it like plays so uncomfortable. And Ben Affleck is doing the whole like thing from Superman where like Clark Kent and Superman are both having a date with Lois Lane.
Yeah.
So it's that whole thing where he's like trying to like keep the ruse up, and then Christina Applegate comes in and she decides to like, she's pissed because she sees that he's with this other girl that he didn't tell her about. But in most movies, she would have like stormed out and been like, I hate you and all this stuff. But Christina Applegate decides, okay, I'm going to use this situation to fuck with him so bad.
And I'm going to have some fun.
And she does. And it's so perfect and awesome, So I love when movies surprise me. Like whenever a movie surprises me and a character doesn't act the way that you expect a character to act, because there's so many like movie tropes that movies just lazily follow, Right. So I love it when there's something that's out of the norm and not like, like everything else. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like it comes together all perfect and clean, and then they live happily ever after, and that's awesome too. But
yeah, I know that there's always a whole group of people that are like, we're just tired of movies always ending in happy endings, and we just want them to end bad. But you know what? I don't like. That's real life, and that's the part about movies that I like. I want my movies to end with a happy ending. Yeah, because I'm altruistic.
Sometimes, I'm all for like the mist ending where like he kills his kids and his whole family, and then like the mist clears and like they were just about to be saved. Like. That's awesome. Yeah. But in a movie like this, like I just want to see him get the girl and just like be happy. Like this is light fare. Let's keep it light fare.
Right.
Yeah. So how much do you think this movie cost to make?
How much?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I don't know, honestly. I have no concept of how, because like back in the day, like I remember when movies cost like a couple million to make. Now they're in the billions. It's just like ridiculous.
No, movies never cost $1 billion to make.
Well, maybe they make $1 billion. Seems like that.
So this movie cost $44 million.
Is that on the high end?
That's like the medium range for like that's about standard for like a comedy, but it pretty high budget.
In 2003.
In 2003, that was bigger money in 2003. Yeah, the movie brought in $11 million total.
Oh, and that was DVD release mostly.
Everything made in $11 million. So it was one of the hugest flops of all time, and really, really hurt Ben Affleck's career. Pretty much after, like,
it wasn't the other two.
Well, Paycheck came out, this came out, Jersey Girl, Geely. It was like a big ball of shit for him. He also did one called Changing Lanes with Samuel L. Jackson. And it just kind of like all together was like a big ball of diarrhea. He breaks up with J-Lo, and he pretty much had to like leave Hollywood for a little while and let things calm down.
He should have fired his agent, because a good agent would have been like, you need to not do this.
I've been told that it's Ben Affleck's, like, he only did the ones that he wanted to do. He went away for a few years, and I think that was probably the best thing that he could have done.
Was that when he got back with Jennifer Garner?
No, he hadn't met Jennifer Garner yet. They met on Daredevil.
Oh, okay.
Which was part of his like resurgence.
Mm-hmm.
So he came back out of hiding after like 4 years and did a very like serious dramatic movie about George Reeves, the guy who played the original Superman in the old black and white series. Mm-hmm. It was called Hollywoodland, and it was about like that guy, like they say he killed himself, but like he was shot in the back. So like, how do you shoot yourself in the back, kind of thing?
Right.
So, anyway, super good movie. Had Diane Lane in it. It was done in black and white. And Ben Affleck actually they show him in the Superman costume in that movie. So like he's been Superman and Batman and Daredevil.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of cool. But that movie was critically received, and people like raised their eyebrow at it and were like, oh, Ben Affleck can act when he wants to. And they forget that he won a motherfucking Oscar for writing, which he also, I believe he wrote Hollywoodland also. But the dude's super talented. So he did that. Then he starts doing, he's like, okay, now I'm going to really get back in there to the big leagues again. He does Daredevil, thinking it's going to be this big, huge superhero movie. And that movie didn't do good. And it was critically torn apart. And so, like, he had some like, okay movies, but mostly it was more bad movies. He went into hiding again. And then that was when he came out with Argo and came out as a director and an actor and knocked it out of the park. Too? Yeah. So like he came out, did Argo.
He does really good when he writes it and acts in it.
Shit, what was the name of that movie? The Town.
Oh, The Town.
So he wrote, directed, and starred in The Town.
A good movie.
And that was a freaking great movie. And so people are like, oh, when Ben Affleck does his own stuff, he's really good. So,
which aren't those? All three of those were very heavy, very serious drama movies. So that's his genre that he should stick with. He's good at it. And
that's the thing. But he's a kind of actor. He wants to try everything. He wants to do everything. And he's a huge comic book fan in real life. So that's why he wanted to do. He did Daredevil because he thought he'd never be able to do Batman. He's like, there's already been too many Batmans. I'm already too old to be Batman. So he did Daredevil thinking that would be the next best thing. And then he wound up getting to play Batman later on.
And then he shit on it.
Well, that's debatable. Like, some people think that he shit on it. Some people like really like Ben Affleck's Batman. Mostly he had positive response from when Batman v Superman. It was just a bad movie. But a lot of people liked him.
Like acting in it.
That's my problem with him as Batman, is that I feel like he isn't giving it like his heart and soul.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like he was connecting with the character.
And another part, something that's always been a problem of his is that he succeeds in the spotlight and he fucking fails in the spotlight. So like, everybody knows that he has gambling problems. Everybody knows that he has alcohol problems.
It's gotta be so hard being like in the spotlight.
Oh, absolutely.
Every minute flaw.
Yeah.
Is just magnified.
Literally, you're out there with your pants down 24/7.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's looking at you.
And people are laughing at you.
And people are laughing at it. Yeah.
Or they're not, but you don't remember the people times when they're cheering.
The people that aren't laughing at it too. You're like, well, why aren't you laughing at it? But that brings up, so when I was doing research for this movie, I looked up the premiere of the movie, and Ben Affleck is blasted at the premiere of Surviving Christmas. Like, his eyes are half closed and he's talking all kinds of crazy shit. He's saying fuck every other word, and it's supposed to be like national television. And so yeah, anybody that is listening to this, you should go YouTube the premiere of Surviving Christmas and just see like the train wreck that is Ben Affleck, And he does it every time. Even so, he's doing the interview for Batman v Superman. Henry Cavill started like talking about what it's like to be Batman and Superman, and Ben Affleck like looks down at the ground, and he's obviously has left the interview. Well, he doesn't think the camera's still on him, or didn't think it was on him. I guess they thought it was on him, on Henry Cavill, because he was talking. And so somebody puts the Sound of Sadness over it, and they call it the Sad Fleck video. And it's just so sad. It's just him sitting there, and he's just like thinking about how shitty Batman, how shitty of a movie he's in. But it's just like that. Like, the guy can't even like let his mind drift for a minute without people being like, without it becoming a viral video. So I honestly do feel bad for the dude. I've seen a lot of like, especially his early stuff when he was working with Kevin Smith and everything. He seemed like he was a really cool dude. I always laugh when him and Matt Damon are doing stuff together. They're really funny. I just think that he's, Hollywood has messed him up, just like it messes everybody up. But for some reason,
well, it's not just Hollywood for him. Like, he has. It's alcohol and drug abuse.
Yeah, he's got demons.
It plays to their insecurities, their demons.
Right.
And it just cuts them down even more. And it's way worse than what Hollywood can do. They're doing it to themselves.
Yeah, but so many people have those problems in Hollywood, and they're able to keep it hidden, or keep it at least like not out of the constant public eye. For some reason, he's constantly in the public eye, and I don't feel like he puts himself there. I shouldn't say that either, because he does sometimes.
He just wears his heart on his sleeve, and so he's like, "This is me. I'm not gonna waste my time hiding my flaws, because
Right.
you're gonna find them out anyway.
But he's also like paparazzi fodder. Like he can't go anywhere with his kids without them taking pictures of him, and you know, and obviously like now with this whole breakup with Jennifer Garner, he's always in the news about that. He's back in rehab. He's gained a bunch of weight, and he just looks miserable, man. And I do feel bad for him, you know, because I think the dude's super talented, and I think the dude has a lot of years of his career left in front of him if he plays it right, but he's not playing it right now. He's got a golden goose with Batman, and he's just flushing it down the toilet.
I would take that money, go to an island, get clean, and spend your days writing and just pump out amazing script after amazing script, because Hollywood is lacking good scripts. They just keep remaking all this shit and junk that we are so done with seeing. And I love Ben Affleck's scripts. When he
was supposed to write and direct the solo Batman movie, and then decided that he didn't have. I think it was just too much pressure on him, and he was like, I can't give all myself to the performance and also direct it too. And so they brought on a director, and then that director took over the show, and now he doesn't even want Ben Affleck to play Batman in this movie.
Yeah, it would have been better had he gone the other way. And I don't know why he leans towards the acting side when it's clear his strength is in his storytelling.
Yeah, and I think he could have made a killer Batman movie.
Yeah.
But I think that he got scared, and in a situation like that, you can't not be affected by all the bad press, you know? Like he always is holding his head up high and just being like, oh, I just don't listen to this stuff, and you know, I just live my life the way I live my life, you know, and I don't let it affect me. But there's no way it affects you, you know, because
you're inundated. You hear it just when you're driving down the street on the radio.
Yeah, you can't even look up Google without seeing yourself on there all pudgy and trying to take your kids out for ice cream, you know?
Yeah,
so
that's tough. But I mean, with this movie, I don't think it was that. It was not a terrible, trashy movie. I mean, it had a couple weird parts in it, but overall, I mean, I would definitely give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Definitely, it might not be like your favorite Christmas classic, but one of the reasons I wanted to do this now is because I've got 3 weeks till Christmas. You got plenty of time. You should give this movie a watch. Definitely, don't go in with expectations. But just go in and just check it out. Give it a chance. And I almost guarantee that everybody I know is going to dig this movie.
I agree. Absolutely. Especially if you're sick of watching the same Christmas movies over and over. Or
if you're looking for something new. Yeah. And so many times, like I can think of like 4 Christmases blew ass. And Christmas with the Cranks blew ass. And there was that one with Danny DeVito and Ferris Bueller. That one sucked. I mean, there has not been any good newer Christmas movies.
Except for the one that just aired on Netflix with Goldie Hawn and
Kurt Russell's Christmas Chronicles. Yeah, that
awesome.
was awesome. That was really good. But new Christmas movies are few and far between. So if you want a brand new classic, you want to get into that, you want to get in that Christmas spirit, I definitely suggest you give Surviving Christmas a watch. Lauren.
Yeah.
Fuck, Marry, Kill. Ben Affleck.
Are you going to do all my pronouns? Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler. And Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, man. Fuck, marry, kill. All right, I'm going to go with fuck Chris Hemsworth, marry Gerard Butler, and kill Ben Affleck.
You are a whore.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the end of this episode. I think we killed it. Lauren, thank you for being a guest on this episode.
You're very welcome. Hopefully I wasn't too much of a stick in the mud.
Nope. If you were sticking my mud, and I appreciate it. Please leave the audience with some words of wisdom.
Do or do not. There is no try.
That I'm pretty sure is plagiarized. But good on you for coming up with it so fast.
I was really trying hard not to debacle it because I'm so dyslexic and back ass words that I can't pronounce anything and say the right quotes.
Yeah, we literally have a thing in our family called Laurenisms, and it's when you you take a normal saying that everybody's heard, and then you fuck it up with like another saying.
Like I'm trying so hard to say one thing,
not,
and I'm like, it's not the brightest crayon in the cookie jar.
That's
and
a classic.
It just flies right out of my mouth.
Yep. Every time. Yep.
So, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas doesn't suck. It's just your outlook.
And on that note, follow us on Instagram at Talking Poop Podcast. Also Facebook, YouTube. Sadly, our pornography episode was removed from YouTube for explicit content. So I don't know if that is a loss or a win. Like, I almost am kind of proud of it a little bit.
I don't know how they do it, if they actually listen to it or if it was just the title. That
it doesn't just get flagged. Like, somebody had to complain about it.
Oh, really?
And then they listened to it and removed it. So good on us. I mean,
I guess,
yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned next week. We're gonna have some brand new episodes. I've got a bunch of great guests lined up for you guys. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.
Bye.
Talking Poop.